Recently, Emily found herself increasingly on edge, her sleep disturbed. Her overall health had taken a nosedive, largely due to her mother-in-law, Margaret. Margaret had spent her entire life in a small town, seemingly unfazed by the opinions of those around her. Despite the discomfort, Emily made an effort to join Margaret at the dinner table. Margaret's table manners left much to be desired. She smacked loudly, slurped her tea, and chewed with her mouth open during conversations, testing Emily's patience. Alex, Margaret's son and Emily's husband, seemed oblivious to his mother's behavior, carrying on conversations as if nothing were amiss. Margaret never bothered to cover her mouth when yawning, coughing, or sneezing, prompting Emily to frequently offer polite reminders, especially in public settings. However, such attempts often led to arguments. "Leave me alone. What's your problem with how I yawn? I've never felt the need to cover up, and I never will. And I certainly didn't hire you to be my manners coach," Margaret would retort, her tone hostile. "You'd do well to mind your own business instead of trying to change me." Emily found Margaret's behavior outrageous. While she could somewhat understand Alex's tolerance of his mother's quirks due to their family bond, Margaret seemed to expect everyone else to cater to her whims. Despite this, Alex occasionally indulged his mother's love for houseplants by bringing her new specimens. Emily and Alex lived in a modern, well-appointed townhouse, taking inspiration from their neighbors who had decorated the stairwell with fresh flowers. Emily also contributed by adding a couple of pots of violets and kalanchoe plants. On the third floor, someone had placed a stand with a breathtakingly beautiful orchid in bloom. Even Emily couldn't help but admire the flower as she climbed the stairs to her floor. During one of her visits to her son, Margaret noticed this particular plant. "What a gorgeous flower you have on the stairs. Alex, remind me to take it home with me," she remarked. Emily was caught off guard. "What do you mean, take it home?" Without asking. "And who am I supposed to ask? If it's left out in the hallway, it must mean nobody wants it. Consider it up for grabs. I'll give it a loving new home," Margaret asserted. "Margaret, these aren't abandoned flowers. The residents of our building are simply trying to add some charm to our place by putting flowers on the stairs that they're willing to share. They're not meant to be taken away. The building manager takes care of them, watering them and keeping them healthy," Emily explained. "I don't care about that. If it's in the hallway, it's fair game," Margaret insisted. "Margaret, we have security cameras in the lobby. Do you really want to cause a scene? Do you want the neighbors to think we're stealing? Why don't we just buy you a beautiful orchid of your own?" Emily suggested. "Why buy one when I can have this for free?" "Of course, you wouldn't understand. You're loaded," Margaret retorted. Before leaving for her small town, Margaret tried to sneak away with the pot, but Alex intervened firmly. "Mom, stop trying to take things that don't belong to you. We've explained that these plants belong to the whole building. They could call the police and report you for theft. Is that what you want?" Emily harbored a deep dislike for her mother-in-law. The two had never managed to see eye to eye in the 7 years since Emily married into the family. Margaret had stopped visiting their city home a long time ago, with Alex being the one to make occasional trips to see her. Margaret disliked her daughter-in-law for what she perceived as a lack of helpfulness, openly calling her lazy and unhelpful. Emily's life had been relatively peaceful until recently. Her mother-in-law, Margaret, used to visit maybe once every 2 months before she got sick. But to make up for not being there in person, she'd call every day and complain for ages about everything going wrong in her life. Emily would try her best to avoid talking to Margaret directly. Whenever the phone rang and it was her, Emily would quickly hand it to Alex. Alex would then give his wife a short summary of the conversation. "Mom wants us to visit next weekend to help fix the barn roof. Apparently, there's a leak and a bird is getting wet. Are you going?" "I guess so. She can't handle it on her own. It just doesn't make sense to me. Margaret is almost 70 years old. Why does she need a vegetable garden, an orchard, and a whole farm? Something's always breaking down there, and you end up spending days running around to hardware stores in the town. But when I wasn't feeling well and needed you to take a few days off work to be with me, you said you were too busy. Yet, you always managed to find the time for your mom. Frankly, it hurts my feelings. Why are we bringing this up again, Emily? We live in the city. Everything we need is close by: hospitals, pharmacies, stores. Margaret doesn't have any of that out in the small town. I've even been trying to convince her to move here. Here? Emily's voice shook. To our apartment. Well, maybe for a little while in the apartment, and then we could sell her house in the town. Maybe we could use the money to get her a nice one-bedroom condo closer to us, Alex suggested. Do you really think selling the house in the town will be enough to buy a condo in the city? Emily questioned. If it's not enough, we'll figure something out. Margaret isn't going to live forever, and you really shouldn't avoid going to see her in the town, Alex replied. I'm telling you straight up, I'm completely against Margaret moving in with us. I can barely handle her being around for more than 3 days. You know this. We don't get along, she can't stand me, and I don't exactly adore her either. If your mother moves in with us, that's it, our peaceful life is over. I'll only have 2 choices: a mental hospital or moving to another city, probably after a divorce, Emily declared. When Emily mentioned divorce if his mother moved in, Alex got quiet and didn't bring up the idea of Margaret living with them anymore. Emily felt relieved. Her husband seemed to understand her concerns and was being reasonable about the situation. Their peaceful life was disrupted again one evening in May, when Margaret called her son for their usual long chat. After he hung up, Alex came to Emily with a request. Emily, Margaret's been having really bad back pain lately and can't keep up with things around the house. You work in an office. Do you know anyone who works at a private clinic? Maybe Margaret needs a massage therapist. Couldn't she just go to a regular doctor? Does she really need a private clinic? Emily asked. Emily, this isn't the time for jokes. Margaret can only come to the city on weekends, and during the week, there's nobody to take care of the house. That's why I mentioned private clinics. Besides, I think doctors might give better treatment if you pay for it. Sorry. I've had some bad experiences with public hospitals. Please, let's be compassionate and serious about this. I'm not trying to be funny, Alex replied, his voice sincere. Why are you getting so defensive? Okay, I'll find a good specialist, and we'll help Margaret get better, Emily responded. Emily was a lover of peace. She wouldn't fight with her mother-in-law unless she was pushed. But Margaret's behavior often pushed her buttons. It would start with rude jokes, then turn into personal attacks, and end with guilt trips like, "Poor son. He deserves better than you." It really bothered Emily that Margaret never seemed to appreciate anything she did. The family was well off. Alex had a successful career, and Emily, besides her main job in an office, enjoyed income from investments. Despite their financial security, Emily didn't hire help with housework. She took care of everything herself. Mary, on the other hand, never bothered cleaning up after herself. Crumbs on the tablecloth were a major annoyance for Emily, and she wouldn't hesitate to speak up about it to her mother-in-law. In response, the brazen Mary would fire back, implying that Emily wasn't pulling her weight when it came to keeping the place tidy. Needless to say, this would quickly escalate into an argument. On Friday evening, when Alex brought his mother home from the small town for treatment, Emily's mood immediately soured. Mary, seemingly oblivious, tracked mud across the hallway floor with her dirty shoes. She completely ignored the doormat and walked all the way to the bathroom in her boots. Only after finishing her business did she finally take them off. Without even a hello, Emily hurried to grab a bucket and rag to clean up the mess. She then addressed her mother-in-law sternly. "Mary, please remember to take your shoes off at the door next time. They were caked in mud. Look at the mess you tracked in." Please be considerate of my efforts. I didn't sign up to be your maid. Do you wear shoes indoors at your own place? I really had to use the restroom. I couldn't wait to take my shoes off. Are you suggesting I make a scene in front of my son? Well, it's clean now, no harm done, Mary retorted dismissively. Emily shot an angry look at Alex, who simply shrugged. Mary carelessly tossed her boots under the coat rack and headed straight for the kitchen. Could you make me some hot tea? I'm a bit chilly. And do we have any Tylenol? My back is acting up on top of this cold. Emily, are you deaf? Mary called out. Take care of it yourself, Emily muttered to her husband before disappearing into the bedroom. She had no desire to interact with her disliked mother-in-law. Mary visited the city every weekend. Early on Saturday mornings, Alex would take her to appointments, spending the entire day with her before returning home in the evening. Once, Emily questioned why they didn't take her directly back to the small town instead of bringing her to their house. She wants to spend the weekend with us. She says it's too boring at home, not a single soul to talk to, Alex explained. No surprise there, Emily thought to herself. She's argued with all the neighbors. Nobody can stand her in the small town. She always has to stick her nose in where it doesn't belong. Mary's recovery was slow. 2 months passed, yet her back continued to bother her. Sometimes, Emily would escape for the weekend, seeking refuge with friends or her parents. When Alex expressed his annoyance with her absence, she responded firmly. You see how my presence irritates your mother. To avoid any arguments, I leave on my own errand. I'm sure you and your mom enjoy each other's company while I'm gone. The recent incident was the last straw for Emily. She knew her mother-in-law had been treating their apartment like her own for a while, but this latest offense was unforgivable. The argument erupted over the new sofa, a piece Emily had searched high and low for and bought for a hefty sum. As usual, Mary returned on Saturday from her treatments and settled in front of the TV to relax. Emily wasn't home at that moment. Alex had just left to pick his wife up from a friend's place. When Emily returned, she was met with a shocking sight. Mary was seated on the sofa, with a newspaper draped over a cushion on her lap. Resting on the newspaper was a large, greasy smoked fish that smelled awful. When she saw Emily and Alex, Mary casually set the greasy cushion aside, wiped her fish-covered hand on the plush armrest of the expensive sofa, and stood up. Finally, where have you been? Are you deliberately avoiding me while I'm here? Mary said to Emily. Alex, you really need to keep better tabs on your wife. Do you even know where she sleeps at night? Emily's eyes narrowed as she saw the grease stains Mary left on her beloved sofa. Pushing past Mary, Emily rushed into the living room. Sure enough, both the cushion and the armrest were visibly stained. Alex, that's it. I'm done. I've put up with your mother's behavior for as long as I can, but this is too much. I'm over her antics, Emily exclaimed. Do whatever you want. Hire a massage therapist, rent her a separate apartment. But she's not welcome in this condo anymore. And who do you think you are, kicking me out? I'm here to see my son, not you. You need to keep your mouth shut. Mary shot back. Do you have any idea how much it will cost to get this professionally cleaned? Why can't you be more careful? Don't you know anything about keeping things clean? Emily countered. I've made myself perfectly clear. You will not be setting foot in this condo again. The argument between the daughter-in-law and mother-in-law spiraled quickly, devolving into mutual insults. It seemed like things might get physical until Alex intervened to calm them down. All right, that's enough of this, he boomed. Mom, get your things ready. Are you kicking me out? Mary questioned. No, I'm not kicking you out. Let's go. I'll book you a hotel room for the weekends. It'll be spacious and comfortable, Alex explained. Turning to Emily, he added, Take it easy. We'll talk about this when I get back. At the hotel, Mary found herself surprisingly comfortable. The room had a separate bathroom with a shower, a big bed, a TV, and even a mini fridge. Alex left money for his mother and explained how to order room service. By the time her husband returned, Emily had calmed down a bit. Alex assured her that his mother wouldn't be staying with them again, a relief for Emily. She understood that peace of mind was priceless. After a month, Mary's health improved significantly, and she no longer needed treatment. However, the tension between her and Emily remained high, with neither woman showing any interest in mending things. Alex continued to visit his mother, maintaining a connection despite the strain in their family. I hope you enjoyed this story. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more awesome stories in the future. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey, and we'll see you next video.